Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
Good morning, West Coast. It's a little bit after 9 o'clock here. I know it's 11 a.m. where you are, Chris. Welcome to On Deck here on Coast to Coast Network, Entertainment Network, I should say. Also, check out all the other shows here on the network. Four Bros was just yesterday. Tomorrow morning, Tailgate to get you ready for NFL football. We got shows all during the week. Sports Minute, among others. It's all good. Creeping It Real. Hey, hopefully Entertainment Hour will come back. Chris, how are you, and how's everything in life?
Going good. Things are a little better for the Rangers. Get into that here in a minute, but all is good.
Yeah, I wish I was in your position right now, being an Angel fan. And I guess we'll get into our team reports for the first topic here. I'll start with mine, I guess. With the Angels, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of issues. The ball club is 68-80, fourth place in the AL West. 13 and a half games out, or 15 games out, I should say, and 13 and a half out for the wild card. They are eliminated officially of the Western Division try, but in the wild card, their elimination number is 2, which will probably be hit by this afternoon. It's been wild. Quickly through the games, I guess. They started a series with the Detroit Tigers. Miguel Cabrera making his final appearance in Anaheim. He hit 9 home runs at the Big A in his career. He's been with the Tigers since, I want to say, 2006. And it's always a treat when he came by. He always has fun. He was rubbing the head of the first base coach after he got an opposite field hit yesterday. It just reminds me of all the times he had fun with Adrian Beltre. It's really cool stuff to see Miguel Cabrera there. The Angels did lose, by the way, 11-2 last night. Eduardo Escobar pitched his third game. Now, he's the third baseman usually, and he comes off the bench sometimes. He started yesterday, but this is the third time he's pitched a position player, and that means that the team has been destroyed that night. So I think it's the 5th time that a position player has pitched for the Angels this season in a game. Just think of how bad the season has been. Think about that, how you don't want to see a position player out there pitching, and voila. The Angels do play the second game of that 3-game series with the Tigers tonight at 6:07 my time, and then 1 o'clock tomorrow. Of course, yesterday was Roberto Clemente Day, so players choosing to wear 21 did so. And I have to admit this. My friend went to the Angel game, and the promotions people just showed like a 30-second video of Roberto Clemente. Not really honoring him in the right way. It's really bad. Mike Trout did win the Roberto Clemente Award, in which one player from each team gets. But that was pretty much it. And that was the only time you saw Mike Trout, as he's injured as well. The Angels did lose 2 out of 3 earlier this week against the Mariners. Before that, they split with the Guardians 4, and they were swept by the Orioles 3 straight, and swept by Oakland at the beginning of this month. So it's been a horrible, horrible month, Chris. There's reports out that Shohei Ohtani has his locker cleared out, and there's video maybe of him going through a Japanese airport. So he's gone already, according to this video. I don't know if the video's from an off season like a year ago or 2, or even in 2018 or 19. I don't know if this video is true, but it's a bad look on the team, and he did everything. But why is he even there? Why does he have to be even with the team? He has nothing to offer now. He has to get surgery on the elbow. it's funny. We'll get into the MVP races, but I can't give it to Otani. I don't know why. I just and I'm an Angel fan, but it's like, nah, he's too injured. I feel like.
But it's not because of what he's. What I mean by this is not because of what he's doing, like because he's clearing out his locker. It's not because of that. You're like, I don't know. He should be MVP, right?
I feel like whenever someone gets injured, that lessens their chances. Just what I think.
Yeah.
And also Anthony Rendon, the idiot that's been, saying in the media all the wrong things. Remember, he started the season going after an Oakland A fan. That pretty much showed how the season was going to be. He's been injured, since July 4th. He hit himself with the ball, fractured tibia, but he was out seen just doing some jogging. So he never gave clarification to his injury for a good, 3 months. He never said anything.
Oh,
And then finally on Friday, he said something where, oh, yeah, I had a fractured tibia, but really nobody announced it. And he could have announced it. That's how bad it is with the Angels organization.
That's the thing. That's the thing with a losing organization or team. They start hiding things from not just the media, but just around their own locker room, their own facility, and that kind of loses trust. It loses a lot of momentum too.
Yeah, and of course at the deadline, if you remember, Chris, the Angels traded their number 2, number 3, and number 9 prospects for all these rentals, and then waived them. And only Grid is. I can't ever remember a year where everything looked good, and then it's fallen so bad to the point where that's going to set him back for so many years. Basically, Artie Moreno has to sell the team, and someone has to come in here and clean the house. And there's going to be a new manager. Phil Nevin won't be around probably. I want Ron Washington from the Braves.
Ron Washington was good. I know he led Rangers to those two World Series, 2 AL pennants.
And trust me, I want that right now. I want someone to come in and have that leadership, but focus on the fundamentals. You saw that with the Braves, where he works with everyone like that. I saw him last year, remember, at the All-Star game, at the Home Run Derby, I think. He was working with Pete Alonso, just some first base drills. And he's a division opponent. And I'm like, that's really cool. But I don't know if he wants to manage again. I know he's getting older. That stress of, going to the World Series twice with the Rangers.
Multiple times with the Braves. Once with the Braves. Do you think Otani's going to Boston because Adam's thinking that? At least that's what he's heard.
I know he doesn't want to go on the East Coast, but the more that I think about it, the more revered he was when he was playing against the Mets. That crowd was going wild for him in Queens. So it shows that he could play anywhere. It does show, but I know that he had a preference to play on the West Coast. But I believe he'll go wherever he really wants to. I think that Red Sox rumor is out there because they just fired their GM. They're looking to go in a new direction, and they'll be wanting to spend whatever they can, unlike the GM that was there before, where he wasn't doing risky moves. He wasn't taking a risk. So maybe that's why that rumor is out there. But Chris, enough about my horrible, horrible, horrible Angels. I'm so sick of them. I ranted about them yesterday, and I'm just – that's why nothing's on
over it
anymore. Yeah, nothing is up there. Let's get to your Texas Rangers. So they lost yesterday, but they did sweep the Blue Jays 4 straight during the week. They have, the second wildcard spot right now, game and a half ahead of elimination. So what's up with your Texas Rangers?
Yeah, we had that downhill spiral for a little bit, and then we picked it back up with a 6-game winning streak. Um, it's like a 3-team race between us, the Astros, and the Mariners. Pretty much, except for the Rangers, everybody has to lose maybe to get back in that division race. Right now, I think we're game up in the wild card, if I remember right. Things are starting to look up. Hopefully, they continue to look up. Today, we got, I think, game 2 of the Cleveland series. And, this week it's probably the Astros, and I know next weekend's the Mariners.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
crucial week. Crucial week, and in a couple weeks, we're getting down to that home stretch. I think the final home games for the Rangers are the next couple weeks, so anything's possible. Just keep looking up, and I don't know. It's stressful.
Yeah, especially with Max Scherzer's injury that I saw that he was practicing some pitches and then all of a sudden he's like, nope, I can't do it anymore. And I'm worried about his career, honestly, going forward. He's missed more time than anything last couple of years, or 21 at least. And then last year he was really good in New York. And then this year, it's been shaky all year, really. Especially that last start he had against the Astros, that one start where he gave up like 7 runs right away. That's when the trouble started for him, I think, injury-wise. That's when you can see something. So you got Dane Dunning going tonight for the Rangers, and I'll take a look at that game for sure later on. And I'm wondering if Martin Perez will move from the bullpen back to the starting rotation now with Scherzer out. But it is crazy, Chris, how the bullpen of Texas has just faltered this year after being really good. Chapman was really good. Will Smith has been really good. And that was the help they needed. But then they've been really bad. I don't know what's up with Chapman. Have you noticed anything?
I haven't, no. I know maybe there was an injury, I thought I heard, but I'm not quite sure.
It's just weird because his ERA was so well, and then it's not. He just struggled, and he's been struggling. But man, if you can score over 8 runs a game, I think you'll be fine. Especially nowadays MLB.
Yeah,
I think you'll be ready to go. You'll be good like you were in that Blue Jay series. But in a couple of weeks, the Rangers do come out here to play the Angels, 25 through the 27th of September, and that would be big for the Rangers. But man, they have a gauntlet. You mentioned Houston and then Seattle, the 2 teams that they're chasing. Man, that's going to be fun.
yeah.
I'll be watching.
I think we got 9 games against Seattle coming up.
9. Wow.
Yeah.
That's wild. All right, so that's been our team reports. Topic 2 here are NL and AL MVP choices. Now, I think it's really clear for me from the National League who should win the NL MVP, and that's Ronald Acuna Jr. Has so many home runs, so many stolen bases, has that home run record. I really think he should get the NL MVP. Chris, who do you think will be NL MVP?
That's kind of who I thought. I think on Sports Minute we kind of had this discussion. I think I picked Acuna. I know he's been really good for the Braves. He's probably one of the, top baseball players other than Ohtani and, whoever else you want to throw in there. But he's probably one of the top players. And, if he's hurt, not that he is, but if he ever was, it's a big loss, and it's I think he's a big key to them.
Yeah, and we saw, even though in 21, I think they were without him, and they still won the World Series. But I know that they have a great team around them, and that shouldn't penalize them.
And it's not just one player that, we were talking about another sport before this one, but it's not based on one player. But yet we all seem like it is. That one player goes down. Oh, now the team's done for the year.
That's why I feel like with Julio Rodriguez, it seemed like the Mariners go as he goes. And that's what happened with Seattle earlier this year. Okay, for for AL MVP choice, I have Kyle Tucker of the Astros. I just feel like he's not better than Ohtani, but he's been more important this year. Shohei Ohtani's been great, hitting and pitching, but I just feel like being injured, it doesn't help his chances. And even though I'm an Angels fan, I'd rather give it to someone more deserving. What's your AL MVP choice?
I feel like Ohtani's going to be in the mix. Now, his chances of dropping, like his voting chances could and probably will drop. I think he will be in the mix. Some people are saying, I think it was Seager or Simeon. I can't remember, one of the two for the Rangers. They've been playing so well, and that they're kind of in the mix too. So maybe one of those two. But just stepping away from being a Rangers fan, I think it's probably going to be Ohtani.
And I saw Seager was one of the Rangers candidates.
Yeah.
Excuse me. He would have to ball out the rest of the year, I think, to get it. Santander of the Astros is another guy you could look at along with Kyle Tucker. So those are two guys. Yeah. So that's our MVP choices. We'll see what happens because sometimes it's a popularity contest like we saw last year with Judge. But there were fans saying Ohtani should have got it. But I understood Judge. He hit the most home runs in American League history. That should automatically give you the MVP, in my opinion. So let's go through the standings real quick. In the American League West, like you mentioned, Chris, the Astros lead by a half game over the Rangers. They are 1.5 ahead of Seattle. And then there's the Angels at 15 games back. The A's in last place at 36.5 back. In the AL East, it's a lot of fun right now. The Baltimore Orioles and the Rays are tied for first, but the Orioles are percentage points ahead of them. They play each other this weekend, by the way, or they are. Behind them are the Blue Jays in third place at 10.5 games back. New York Yankees are 16.5 back in fourth place. And then the Red Sox are 17.5 back, which is just crazy to me to think about the New York Yankees. AL Central, the Twins are in first place. The Guardians are 8 games out, The in second place. The Tigers are 9.5 out in third. The White Sox are 22 games out, and then Kansas City is 31 games out in last place. For the wild card in the AL, Baltimore has the first, or Tampa Bay has the first one, 10 games above second place Texas, and then Texas is 1 game ahead of Seattle. The only team really close to out the outside looking in is Toronto. They're half game out of the wild card. I guess we'll predict now the wild card, and we'll go with that with the AL. For me, with the AL, I think it stays how it is Tampa Bay, Texas, and Seattle. Now maybe Seattle overleaps Texas for the second wild card spot, but I think it stays the way it is. How do you see that AL wild card going? Do you think Baltimore slides in or slides out to first place and Tampa Bay gets first place in the East? Or do you think it remains the way it is for the AL wild card?
I want to root for Baltimore. I
Mhm.
think they're an interesting team. Maybe they will jump up. But it's going to be an interesting playoff race, I think.
Do you think it stays the way it is, or do you think Toronto gets in? And if so, is Texas or Seattle the ones out?
I think Seattle might be out.
And Toronto in?
Yeah.
That would be something. It feels
It
like
would.
Toronto's missing something. It really, like, they went after and got Paul DeJong after they had an injury in the infield. That hasn't worked out. DeJong is in San Francisco. And if you heard about Alex Manoah, he's back in AAA. Remember, he was sent all the way down to the development league in Florida. And remember, Alex Manoah was one of the good pitchers in the league last year. So he's had a horrible year. He's not going to be back with the Blue Jays, and they really need him this year. But he's not going to be there. That's why I don't have Toronto in. Yeah, I think it's going to stay the way it is. Tampa Bay, Texas, Seattle for the wild cards in the American League. Now in the National League, we know the Braves lead the East, no contest over the Phillies, 16 games ahead of them. Second place, the Marlins 20 and a half back in third. The Mets at 28 games back in fourth, and then the Nationals at 31 and a half back. In the NL Central, there's some space finally between the Brewers and the Cubs. The Brewers are 5.5 ahead of second place Chicago, 7 games ahead of Cincinnati in third. Third place Cincinnati. The Pirates are fourth place, 14 and a half back, and the Cardinals are 18 games out in last. In the NL West, it's the usual suspect, the Dodgers. First place, the Diamondbacks. Second place at 13 and a half. The Giants in third place, 14 and a half back. The Padres at 20 games back of first place and fourth. And then Colorado, 35 and a half back. It's amazing how much that West changed this year. For the NL wild card, it's a logjam. Philadelphia has the first one at 4 games above second place Chicago. Chicago does have that second spot. They're a game and a half ahead of Arizona and Cincinnati, who are tied for the third wildcard spot. Miami's a half game out, and then San Francisco's 1 game out. And just for fun, the Padres are 6.5 out of the last wildcard spot. For me, for the NL wildcard, it's a logjam. Coming in, those 4 teams are tied for the third wildcard spot: Arizona, Cincinnati, Miami, San Francisco. I feel like Arizona's going to hold it, but it could go either way. How do you see that NL wildcard going? Who gets that third spot in the NL?
Ooh. I think anybody at this point, I'm sure Dodgers will probably. Well, they're probably in the division lead, aren't they?
Yeah, they got the division. So the wild card is Philadelphia, Chicago, and then there's Arizona, Cincinnati that are tied for the last wild card spot. But Miami is a half game, and then the Giants are a game out of that last wild card spot. So basically, four teams for the last spot. And again, I'm going to go with Arizona. They did enough, I think, to make it happen.
Yeah, I'm going to Arizona, but I'm also thinking Chicago. I'd like to see the Cubs make it.
Yeah, they'll take the second spot. I don't think they'll relinquish that.
Then I'll take Diamondbacks.
Yeah, the way it is now, that's how I see it. But and that will lead into. I hope you made a list, because I didn't make the list, but it doesn't have to be in order. But the top 5 most disappointing teams of this season, and it's amazing because the teams that I know locally here are on that list. There's no doubt about it. And
I could think of 4, maybe.
yeah, I'll go with mine first because
Yeah.
maybe you'll get a feel of it.
Mhm.
I'll go in order. I'll try to do that. Okay, let's go with number 5. I'm gonna go with the. Let's see. I'll go with the Angels. Number 4. Let me go with St. Louis. Number 3. I'm gonna go. No, I'm sorry. Okay. Let me go Yankees 5. 4 the Cardinals, the Angels 3, the Mets 2, and the Padres number 1. Now, the reason I put San Diego there, Chris, is because they beat the Mets last year in that wild card series, and they have all this abundance of talent, just like the Mets, but they were supposed to be a step ahead of New York. And you see where both teams are, obviously. Yes, the Padres are closer to a wild card spot, but they're not going to get it. The Mets, they're 8 games out. San Diego's 6.5 out. But I felt like the Padres, they had all this talent. They had the pitching rotation that's really good. Their main problem, I thought, coming in was going to be the bullpen, and that's kind of been the problem, even though they have the highest ERA, or the lowest ERA, excuse me, but one of the worst runners in scoring position stats ever, honestly. It's amazing, though, how this team, it's only solo shots. It's crazy how it is. And you can factor some injuries into it, too, but they've been the most disappointing team. The Mets, kind of the same boat, but they have to figure out what they're going to do with Pete Alonso. Arbitration year is coming, and then he's a free agent. So they have to figure out what they'll do with him. Kind of retool during the season. Senga's been really good. Number 3 for me, again, was the Angels. They had so much expectations going for them. And they made the trade deadline moves. And they're going to lose probably Ohtani. If Trout is nice enough, he'll ask for a trade himself, and he'll leave. There's just got to be change all over for the Angels. The Cardinals, you would never think would be in last place. This is the worst team they've had since 1990, and the worst start they had to a season since 1973, so 50 years ago. Just think about that. They have Goldschmidt. They have Arenado at the corners in the infield, and a young outfield. But they have to make managerial changes, GM change. Cardinals have to redo their whole way. They used to have a Cardinal way, and it seems like that's gone. I don't know what the hell happened. O'Neill has to go. There's so many changes that has to happen with the Cardinals. And then with the Yankees, I don't fault them as much, Chris, because they've had, injuries
So much
to the
success.
guys. Huh?
And they also had so much success.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny, too, because they were once in – they had the wild card spots. They were right there. But not having Judge since June, and I know he came back, but that hurt him. The pitching staff has been really bad. Carlos Rendon has been really bad for the Yankees this year. Garrett Cole's been their only bright spot. All the young players have been really bad. One has to go on the Tommy John for next year, Dominguez. So the Yankees, they've just had bad luck this year among injuries. They have to figure out what they're going to do with Aaron Boone. They probably won't bring him back. There's talk about Cashman being let go, but I don't think the GM will be let go. But they have a alarming off season coming up, just like all these teams that I mentioned. So yeah, 5 Yankees. I'm going 4 Cardinals, Angels 3, the Mets 2, and the most disappointing team, San Diego. So what's your top 5 most disappointing teams this year?
Yeah, I'm not really gonna go in order per se, but I would probably say one would be San Diego. There's been so much promise for him. You know, they had a successful year or two, and then this year it just hasn't worked out. Angels are probably one. The other team I'm thinking of, kind of the same thing with them. So much promise, just injuries and I wouldn't say mistakes, but but just errors all around. I would say Oakland, but they just can't catch a break really.
And they were supposed to be bad anyway, though.
Right, but at least you kind of had, maybe you were hoping for some kind of promise. Some hope.
Kansas City was supposed to be a little better this year, and they've fell.
Yeah.
So I can see that with Kansas City. What did you think about the Mets this year? Like, I know they had a lot of expectations, but they've fallen. They've traded some pieces away.
Yeah, Mets are one of them, and then you could probably, I don't know, there's a lot of teams, but you could probably, I don't know, I can't think of the last one.
Just the Cardinals being in last place, that just seems really awkward.
Weren't they really good at the start?
No, they had their worst start ever, or since 1973. So right away they were bad, and that never happens with the Cardinals. I had them winning the division. Nope.
I think I did too. But.
Yeah. That just never happens. So they need a lot of change. So, but I think we're on the same page about disappointing teams. It's kind of clear cut. Who's supposed to be good and how they aren't. It's just weird.
I would like to see Oakland one day, or just say Vegas, win. I don't know, at least 50 games.
Yeah,
they're on the pace too this year, but I mean with less losses, I should say.
I had them. They won 60 last year. I had them at 61 this year, but right now they're at 46 and 101, and they do play the Angels at the end of the year. That's when they could get 3 wins and hopefully get over that 50 win mark.
I mean, that's a big accomplishment in itself, getting 50 wins. 100 is too, but right now we'll just shoot for 50.
Day by day, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way they get to 60 or 61. They would have to go on a momentous winning streak in order for that to happen. So now, all right. So let's look through. We have any comments, Chris?
No, so far no.
Okay. Let's look through the series that are going on this weekend. So you mentioned the A's and the Padres. That's at 1:00 my time here on the West Coast. At 12:07, the Red Sox at Blue Jays. Again, the Blue Jays trying to get in the wild card spot. Chris Sale will be going against Chris Bassett. That would be a good pitching matchup there. The Giants and Rockies play a doubleheader, and that's important because the Rockies won last night in a wild way. The Rockies had a no-hitter going, even though they were trailing 1-0 into the 7th, or into the 8th inning, I should say. But the Giants need every win they can get to stay in the wild card. So they have a doubleheader going in Colorado. The Braves and Marlins, that's really important for both. The Braves are trying to get home field, and then the Marlins are trying to stay in that wild card. For you at 5:00 in Texas, the Rangers and Guardians in Cleveland. That's, of course, important for the Rangers. The Yankees and Pirates coming up today. Of course, I had Roberto Clemente Day yesterday in Pittsburgh and around the MLB. The Rays and the Orioles. That's obviously the most important series of the weekend here, as both are going for the East and the wild card. Glasnow will be starting for the Rays there. Astros and Royals, as the Astros try to keep first place. The Reds and Mets and Queens. The Reds trying to stay in the wild card race. The Twins trying to win the Central over. They play the White Sox in Chicago. Nationals Brewers. The Brewers trying to separate themselves more in the Central. The Phillies and Cardinals. The Phillies trying to solidify that first wildcard spot in St. Louis. And then the Cubs and Diamondbacks. Obviously, that's a big one because they're going against each other for the wild card. Cubs trying to keep the second spot. The Diamondbacks trying to overleap them. The Dodgers and Mariners. That's a big series because the Dodgers trying to win the West, and then the Mariners trying to keep that second wild card, or trying to get that second wild card spot. So that's all the weekend series. For me, the most important series is Tampa Bay and Baltimore. I feel like both are going to be in the playoffs, just depending where. Both have had so many. Well, not really the Orioles, but the Rays have gone through so much this year. With the Franco situation, injuries to their rotation. It's just been wild for the Rays, and they're still somehow continuing to do what they're doing. Orioles have been steady throughout. I think kind of shocked people being in the first place. I didn't think they would be as good as they are, but it's a testament to what they've been trying to build and what they still have coming up, though. So what's your most important series of this weekend, Chris?
I would say that Houston series, although I can make the case for, the Seattle series, anything in the AL or the AL West.
Yeah, it's a 3-team race there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I was a part of it. That's just sad when you see the first. No.
No,
first,
what?
Yeah, no, there's no way, Chris. I think they're screwed for the next at least 5 years. They've screwed themselves where they can't compete with the other three above them. And then one day, Las Vegas or the A's will overleap them, and the Angels will be in last. Watch. That's how bad it's going to be, I feel like. But yeah, the 3 logjam there for the West and for the wild card, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
That looks like fun. So with all that, I guess we'll get into our final thoughts. I guess Greg won't be showing up, but stay tuned next week. He'll probably be back. I guess I'll get into. All right, what's your final thoughts, Chris?
No, it's been a good show. Thanks everyone for watching, tuning in. Hopefully the playoff race continues, and it's going to be a fun week or two before the season ends. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Final thoughts here. Hey, good to see you, Chris, and talk. Of course.
See
you. It's been one of those seasons for the Angels where I'm ready for football, but then, I have to report on the team still. Shout out Halos in the infield. Check them out. I got to do a pregame show today. That'll be fun. Recapping the blowout. Recapping the blowout yesterday. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Season's almost over, thankfully, but the wild card races, they're going to be so much fun for both leagues, especially the NL, and having those markets like Arizona and Miami in there. That's really good to see, because I remember a while back the wild card was just one team, and expansion has been really good to those markets that are trying to get in, but they can't spend as much or they can't do as much. But it shows you, if you put a good team together, You can have a 1-year wonder, or you can have string of years like the Rays have had. So it's really fun to see. Check out Coast to Coast Entertainment Network again for sports, and then Odd Stories are kicking it on Mondays.
Yeah.
It's funny how that show just goes off the rails with Isaiah there. But check that out. Four Bros, excuse me. Creeping It Real, Sports Minute. Am I missing a show? Morning Tailgate.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shows.
It's a lot.
But that's okay. That's okay.
That means more for you out there.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get Entertainment Hour, but this Hollywood strike thing has just been awful for everyone. That for new programming and new shows to watch, there isn't going to be any for a year or two. So just keep that in mind. We're going to have to go back in time and hopefully get that show going.
There's a lot to talk about, even though there's a strike. You can do it by genre, by actor, actress. I mean, there's a lot you can work with, I think.
It's almost like, you know how sports stopped in 2020?
Yeah.
And shows had to go to like history and top 10 lists.
Right.
And maybe we'll have to do that with movies, with music, with actors and actresses. Maybe we'll have to do that in shows.
We won't be showing marble races, sorry.
That's right. All right, Chris, I guess we'll get out of here. Thank you, everyone, for watching On Deck here on September 16th, 2023. And we will catch you next time.